what's up guys? So today we're going to talk about the story of, if you haven't seen this yet, and in case you're wondering, I'm in Nashville, and yes, I moved here to be a country singer, and yes, I had a record deal, and I played for about 10 or 12 years, maybe 14 or 15, I don't even know, before I got into restoration. Today, I'm going to tell you that story, how I left the trailer in 01 to move to Nashville to be a country singer, just to fail and become a restoration contractor. Let's go. Hey guys, so hey, feel free to share this with other people as well. I've never really told this story publicly like this, so that'll be the first time. I can promise you this, if I was really that good, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now in a YouTube video, would I? But at any rate, it was fun, it was exciting, it was scary. I'll tell you all the stuff, right? How I left, got up there, and somewhere later in the video, I'll even play my first single for you guys. Ironically enough, the first single is called I Hate This Town. So let's back up a little bit. For me, one of the things that was really unique was I didn't grow up doing music. I did some acting in some Christmas plays and stuff in church, and when I was like pre-12 years old, right? And then that was it. And then I left the Christian school that I went to go to a public school, Thompson Warriors in Birmingham, Alabama, play football because they didn't have a football team where I was at, and so that was that. So the point being, my dad played guitar, right? But you know, I never did pick it up. Didn't have any interest, none at all. I just played sports. I was an athlete. I was hunting and fishing, and that was it. So it's kind of odd because I didn't like grow up saying, hey, this was going to be something I was going to do. But at any rate, one key thing that probably is important to note, I told you that I played football and I love football. So here you'll probably see this Billboard review, and I think it actually mentions football, which is kind of weird. I wasn't going to play in the NFL, but I think they wrote that in Billboard magazine, said the NFL lost a star when I got hurt. But it is relevant. So I did live for football. I wasn't involved really in music. The day of my first game, my senior year of high school, this was going to be my stage, right? This was going to be everything I'd ever waited for. And 2 hours for the first kickoff, I was in a severe car wreck. Got wrapped around a tree doing somewhere around 80, 90 miles an hour in a little RX-7 and broke my legs and almost got killed. And me and a buddy of mine, we got injured, and I never did get a chance to play football, at least not my senior year. And so anyway, that only matters because like I think looking back, that music kind of helped fill that hole for me. My senior year was like just pretty much a wreck. After that, I was in the hospital for several weeks, and I think I probably missed like 60 days. I'm surprised they even let me graduate. But at any rate, it left a big hole, and I think that's where I turned to music. So when I turned 19, I moved to Auburn, Alabama, and I went to Auburn University and I took a $300 guitar. I learned how to play, just taught myself how to play some chords, and that was it. Around about 20 years old, I started playing the guitar, nothing formal, never played any bars in college, anything like that. Ironically, I was there in the late 90s with another guy that was playing music. He wound up winning American Idol, was Taylor Hicks. He's also from Birmingham. So Taylor was in the band, I wasn't. It just goes back to this. About 2 weeks before I graduated Auburn in 2000, I wrote my first song. And I could always sing probably relatively well, but I couldn't play the guitar well enough, certainly not well enough to sing and play. I was like, it was really bad. That's it. I mean, at age 23, I decided I think I want to sing. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Imagine being 22, 23 years old and you go to college and you're slated to go into whatever field you're going to do. And all of a sudden you pick up a set of golf clubs. You're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. I think I want to be a golfer. It is, looking back, pretty, I guess, ignorant, you know, to aspire to do something like that, bold, you know, but you don't know any better when you're a kid. And so that's what I did. I aspired for that, and I went out. And so imagine deciding you want to be a pro golfer at age 23, and by age 27, you're on the trail. That's kind of what happened for me. So, you know, little kids, like, even when you're young, that's the beauty of having children now, like I do, is like, I can look at them and I can see their ignorance, and I love it. And it reminds me, like, when I was younger, like, it requires that ignorance to succeed, because you would never put forth the effort otherwise, right? If you really knew how hard it was. So anyway, I moved to Nashville in 01. I spent a handful of years beating around town. I think the first little break that I had was one of my fraternity brothers at Auburn. His dad was in the Christian music business. And anyway, so he made a phone call for me. He was like, hey, listen to this guy. You know, he's a friend of my son's, just, I don't know anything about him. And that was it, right? And so I went and played for the guy, and the guy's name was Jody Williams. And he was a publisher, and I didn't even know what a publisher was at that time. So I was going to go play my songs for him, and long story short, I played him 3 of my songs, and I walked in there pitching my songs to him, and then he stopped me like halfway through the 3rd song. He was like, what do you want? And I was like, what do you mean, what do I want? And he was like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know, I mean, I want you to hear my song. And it just shows like how small-minded I was. But anyway, he was like, are you trying to be a singer? Are you trying to be a songwriter? And I was like, yes. And anyway, so long story short, he was like, your songs are okay, but you'll get a record deal before you get one of your songs cut. He was like, so if you want to be a singer, you're a singer. And he was like, so I walked in there pitching him my songs, and he walked out pitching me his songs. So he gave me some songs to go record. I went and recorded 1 or 2 of them. He had just signed this kid at Belmont at that time. This was 03, I think. I don't remember, 03 about. Anyway, it was Josh Turner, he was the guy. These were the guys that I was kind of coming up with and around back then. And the girl that worked the front desk was pitching me the stuff. Her name was Catherine. She wound up later marrying another guy that I'll show you here in a minute. Well, here he is, Mr. Eric Church. So Catherine married Eric. She was involved in pitching me songs too. It's kind of funny as you look back over the years, like how you meet people and they're not people yet. You know what I'm saying? Like some of them are signed, some of them aren't. I met Lee Bryce at Percy Priest swimming in the lake, you know, and so that's the cool thing about Nashville. So we were all there and nobody was signed. Here's another buddy of mine in this ACM picture, Matt Ramsey, who's now the lead singer of Old Dominion. So some of these guys get their breaks before, some of them get after. Matt got signed way after I did, and he's still on top though. He ain't doing no YouTube videos. So, but anyway, it's kind of cool. It's been fun, like watching your friends get signed. It was kind of hard at first. Another guy that used to come to my shows was Cole Swindell, and I met him down in, Leesburg or Statesboro, Georgia. Yeah, he went to Georgia Southern. So I used to play all of the college circuit in the early 2000s. I played the same circuit right after Pat Green. Zach Brown Band was on the same circuit at that time. And so anyway, that was when I was coming up. And to get back to Nashville, one night at the Bluebird Cafe, I was suddenly discovered. Guy came up to me and said, hey, who you working with? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, who signed you? I was like, nobody. And he was like, you're not signed? I'm like, no. And so it's just weird. Like the next day he made a phone call, and like within 2 or 3 days, he made some phone calls. The next thing I know, I was taking a lunch break, you know, from building houses in 01 when I moved up, and I was playing for the head of Mercury Records and Arista Records and Sony. And it was just weird to go from nothing to playing in front of guys that you've seen on TV, and like, how am I in this room right now? And then you go from that, like yesterday to today, it's that fast, and it just happens that fast. It's just overwhelming, and you're like 3 minutes, 20 seconds, just play. And so I did, and that was in probably around 04, and I didn't get signed during that little 3-week blitz that happened there. But we got close, and so I wound up deciding I needed to get. They said they wanted to see me play live, so I decided to get a booking agent, and that was when I met the guys at East Coast Entertainment. I got a booking agent, and we started playing college circuit, and that was in 04, I think. I wound up doing that for a while, and I got to meet all the guys: Rascal Flatts, Keith Urban. I lived next to Alan Jackson. It was crazy. It was all through my 20s. It was pretty surreal. I was single all during those days. I didn't meet my wife until I got done with music, and actually she helped me get done with music. Anyway, I wound up getting signed in 2007. It was just kind of weird. The first time I almost got signed in 04, and then in 07 I'd been thinking and waiting to go talk to this producer, and I cut one of his songs, and I got in front of him, and everything was going great, and he was like, dude, you're not signed? I'm like, no. And this was Casey Beathard, and he was like, man, we're gonna get you in front of Renee Bell and all these people. And sure enough, I mean, I literally went from nothing again to, he said, yes, let's get you signed. And then I also got an email at the exact same time, potential recording contract. And so I wound up getting signed in 07. I think this was probably 06 when I got offered, right? It took about 8 months to iron everything out because my attorney sucked. Anyway, so I wound up getting signed. So was some of the cool things, right? Like I was supposed to go to radio first in 07, and I got signed to Robbins Nashville, and they were partnered up with Sony, and I didn't know what to do, but I was just going to take action and go. And so sure enough, got my record deal. The negotiations took longer, and I wound up getting slid back I think the third or fourth for the record label to go out. And so instead of going out in '07, I wound up going out end of '08, early '09. And we got some traction. It was cool, but there was this thing called a financial meltdown that was going on at the time. And it was just a really crappy time to get a record deal and try and break an artist. And anyway, so they pushed the record and we did a radio tour. And then my record label decided to shut down their Nashville division. They wanted to break the records out of New York City. The parent company was operated from, and I didn't think that was going to work. And I was pissed that they weren't going to push my single anymore. And this was in mid '09, right? Like we were only 7-8 months in, and they're like, yeah, we're going to pull the plug. And I was like, dude, if you can't break this single, you can't break anything for me. So I just told them I want it out. You spend all your time. So they say in Nashville, there's 2 dates. You spend all your dates dreaming to get a record deal, and then you spend the rest of your time worrying about if you're going to lose your record deal. Yeah, same thing happened to me. So like once I found out that the division was closing, I asked to be released, and then I met my wife here. So this is Jamie. I was 32 years old, I think, and I met her, and I was smitten. I just couldn't take my eyes off of her. I still played music, but I had decided I was going to come off the road. And so now I've got Jamie, and I've got Finley and Silas. Those are the 2 little babies that we've got now. And so anyway, what do I take from the record stuff, etc.? Here's what I would say about just anything. This is very similar to music and starting a business. If you really knew how hard it was going to be, you would never do the things you need to do it. And that's about the same thing in music that I would say, like, if I would have known how hard it was going to be, I probably would have never done it. So any advice I could give to you guys as well is like, don't read the last page first, right? Just read it from the front to the back, enjoy every day. I've had some cool things happen. Again, been in Billboard magazine, and singing the national anthem at bowl games on ESPN, having fighter jets fly around, singing in front of thousands of people, 40,000 people in that case. I mean, it's just a lot of crazy things. Hearing yourself on the radio, like all those things are just, they're pretty surreal. But I can say this, like the biggest moments you thought were gonna happen, they wound up not being exactly what you thought they were. Like the first time I heard my song on the radio, it was almost over. And because it just happened organically. And some of those things that you think are gonna be so big, they're just not. And that's kind of weird, but that's just the truth. Anyway, that's just what I would say. Be glad that you don't know the answers. Don't look for the answers. Just enjoy the ride, okay? The last thing I would say is once I got out of the record business, I still played and toured. I got married in '09 in November, and I just told my wife that I was done pursuing the record deal, right? Like, there's so much, like with business, y'all, I can outwork anybody. Like, I will do the stuff that nobody will do. Y'all say you do it, but you ain't gonna do it. I'll do it, okay? I'll quit my job, move to Nashville, be a record, like country singer, like I do everything. But in music, like you can't hustle your way to the top. Like you can't put that energy into the input and get the output. And I did not like not being in control that way, right? It was really hard being famous one week and nobody knowing who you are the next, depending on where you're at. And so that was really hard, wondering if you're gonna be rich and famous. Like it's shallow, but like these are hard things to do for a guy in his late 20s, early 30s to process, right? And I was just like, dude, I don't think I can do this. So I came off the road. I told Jamie I wasn't going to do it anymore, and I got a chance to prove it. I had to turn down a spot on The Voice, and if y'all want, I'll record another video to tell you about how that works, about how American Idol and The Voice works, and I can tell you about that experience, how I was offered to go on The Voice, etc. But just for brevity to kind of keep this going, but that was it, right? Like I looked for a few months in '09 to try and get another deal, but like it sucked everywhere in terms of the economy. It wasn't a great time. I didn't get the bites I was looking for. I had Jamie sitting there saying, let's do this. And I was like, screw it, let's go. And so I got married in '09, and I started my company. And well, go back to when I told you guys I was a handyman. I got turned down at Lowe's and Home Depot first. Well, this is true. I was unemployed. I was a singer, a failed country singer, just lost his record deal and couldn't get a job at Home Depot or Lowe's, partly because it was 2009 and there was nobody doing anything. And anyway, so I was in the process of trying to stop being a singer, and even though I had a band and a booking agent, I had to work my way back into civilian life. and I couldn't find a job. So that's when I started to knock on doors as a handyman. I started my first company, Simple Solutions. I was just a handyman. So anyway, that was it. And I was bad. I was so bad. I could tell you more about that too. But again, if I'd have known how hard it was, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it didn't really matter because like I didn't have an alternative. Okay. What are my takeaways? Things are going to come and go, guys. Just do the right things the right way for the right reasons. Pursue everything you can. The best things in life are free. That's what I've learned. All the money in the world will not buy you fame, not the fame that you want. And once you've got fame, that doesn't mean you're going to have all the money in the world either. So I've been fortunate enough to see a little bit of all these different aspects. And so my heart is full. I'm in a good spot. The best days that you will experience, they're just fleeting. Like they feel like moments that are passing by at the moment. You don't even know those are the great memories. Those are the great memories. And that's the best thing. So enjoy the ride would be what I would say. And just always be happy, be grateful. And so anyway, that's that. So with that being said, if you guys want now, we'll go ahead and cue up the song and I'll let you guys listen to I Hate This Town. And then we'll come back and put a bow on this thing.
Deja, Robbins Nashville recording artist. Look forward to having you back in the studio. We're getting ready to send you over to the Pepsi Lot Music Lounge so you can entertain some of our listeners, and we appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back anytime.
I appreciate it.
Shane Deja on 97.3 The Eagle.
That's the red brick house where I grew up. That's the football field that made me tough. The grocery store down on 4th that would sell us beer for just a little more. Down Sandstone Road there's an old rope swing and a little lake where my buddies and me used to drive around and talk about growing up and just hanging out. To look at me, you'd never guess that I hate this town. I hate everything in it. Swear I'm getting out, can't take another minute. It keeps bringing me down. It's where I grew up, figured I'd grow old, but then you left. How was I to know that without you around I'd hate this town? Been young, but we had dreams. I built you a house, I bought you a ring. I hit my knees, baby please, I need you, won't you marry me? Everybody we knew was there. The aisles were filled with folding chairs. The preacher prayed, the organ played, your mama cried as we drove away. I bet none of them would believe that I hate this town. I hate everything in it. Swear I'm getting out, can't take another minute. It keeps bringing me down. It's where I grew up, figured I'd grow old, but then you left.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do it, right here.
The Shane Show, right
Shane
there.
Show, SOBs, baby.
Live.
I'd hate this town. My bags about every night. Drive I past the city limit sign, so no one to hear me say that I hate this town. I hate everything in it. Swear I'm getting out, can't take another minute. It keeps bringing me down. It's where I grew up, figured I'd grow old, but then you left. How was I to know without you around? Without you around, I hate this town. I hate this town.
Okay, how about if we play it right now? My folks here.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, Shane Deja, 97.3 The Eagle.
All right, guys. So there you go. So I hate this town. So if you guys want, I've got some other songs. I can do some other videos if you want. Drop a comment down below. If you want to hear some more stories about music, drop a comment and ask me some questions, and I'll make some other videos. So yeah, I'm doing restoration. I got into restoration, and now I've got a company where I help. I've built some software, and I help other restoration companies grow their company now, right? And so that's what I do now. I enjoy it. And some people ask, do I sing anymore? Not really. I mean, you know, it's once you start paying taxes on it, it just changes the dynamic, man. Like if you want to be if you enjoy golf, you might not want to be a pro golfer. And this is something they told me right before I moved to Nashville. I went to Swallow Hollow in Atlanta, and I met somebody, and they're like, "You love country music?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, then don't get into business." And I was like, "What do you mean don't get in the business?" Like, if you love music, don't get in the music business. And I was like, that's just stupid. And so I did. And if I can say something to you, if you love music, don't get in the music business. And it's not just music. It's just once you pay taxes on it, it's different, right? Same thing with sex too, right? Like if you're doing that, like you're a porn star or you're a prostitute. Like once you start paying taxes on it, it's different. It's a job. Whether it's fishing, you're trying to be a pro fisherman, you're trying to be an actor. Like I just don't know the actors go to the movies all the time anymore, right? I don't know the comedians go to comedy shows. Like, and so it's okay, but just be aware that if you love something, you don't have to try and earn money for it, okay? Like your passion could be your passion. It doesn't have to be your job. People miss that. I don't know why. So anyway, just know that. And nobody has the secrets or the answers, man. You just got to go do it. That's all I can say. So anyway, that's my story. Y'all drop some comments, some questions, and if you want to hear some other stories, I've got plenty. I really do. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.